Hi, I'm Roz Osserin. Today's class is Techniques number 3 class, where we will be learning how to paint the darkest darks. Purpose of painting darkest darks is to have extreme contrast in your painting so that your lightest lights will stand out and that from across the room your painting is going to just sing. Let's get started. First thing we'll do in this class is learn how to mix these 3 different mixtures of darkest darks. First one is going to be indigo and permanent scarlet. So right here on my palette I have indigo, which is a very, very dark blue. I'm going to separate and put a little of that over here and pick up some permanent scarlet. And as you can see, as you mix this together, it makes a very, very, very nice dark Let's purple. Put that on our watercolor paper. Oh, it's beautiful. Clean our brush really well. Now we're going to go into our second one, which is ultramarine blue mixed with burnt umber. Blue and brown together can make a beautiful black. Our third mixture is going to be Hooker's green, which is a very dark green, mixed with permanent violet. And out of the 3 of these, this one appears to be the very darkest. So how will you decide which one to use in your painting? Well, it really depends on what you're painting and what your subject matter background color is and your highlighting color is and so on. Sometimes I've used all 3 of them if I'm doing a very large painting and I want to go from one dark into another dark. What it really does is it creates interest in your background. This is an example of using some darkest darks. Now, this is not a background, but I used ultramarine blue right down in here. And for the very darkest dark up here, I used ultramarine blue and sepia, which are both very dark. So you can see that the contrast in the face and the upper body is the greatest contrast that it can be, from very, very, very white to almost black. That's what makes a painting stand out. Today, this is what we're going to be using as our photo reference. So we'll be painting the background in the darkest darks, but first we're going to start the painting by going in and making some light grays and some nice light greens. We'll be using nickel azo yellow and magenta to create these light greens. Let's get started. I've taken the burnt umber and ultramarine blue, diluted it a little bit with water to get a very nice gray. I'm going to come in and start on the left side. By putting in these grays. You'll always see gray as a shadow tone for white. We want to soften this edge, so we just added water. I cleaned my brush. When I'm painting something like this, I'm looking for a likeness, but I'm definitely never stuck on having it look exactly like my photograph. We don't want to be a slave to our photos. Kind of want to add some of our artistic license into it. If something seems a little dark, and that does to me, then I just clean my brush, get a little fresh water, and go back over it and lighten it a touch. Well, notice I have this paper towel to my right. When I learned how to do watercolor, this is how I learned, and I do like the paper towel because I use it to blot my brush. I'm creating the shadow, the underside of this petal. It's actually a little darker on the left. I'm going to wet the spot, and then I'm going to grab a little more color and drop it in. I'm going to work on this petal right here, but I'm going to wait until this one is dry because I don't want them to run together. So I'll move over to another section. Let's go back up to the top. Maybe we'll even add just a splash All the time I'm controlling how much water is on my brush. I want to make sure that we leave a little bit of white next to this gray to differentiate one petal from another. So I'm going to be careful not to touch. And what I can see is that there's a touch of green right here along the edge. So I'm going to go in and get my manganese blue, Nicolazo yellow, and just drop a little bit of that in there. Now I'm going to come over in here and work all along the edge, putting down the Nicolazo yellow first, and then layering the manganese blue on top of it. So we'll just do that side of the leaf, and then we'll also come in here and do this part, which will end up being green when the yellow and blue is mixed together. I usually try to do yellows first while my water isn't clean and I need to do yellow, that I go and get fresh water. That's of #1 importance. So this entire leaf, other than the white strip right here, I'm going to paint the whole thing yellow. I didn't use any mastic because there is so little to leave out. But as you can see, I'm just leaving that little bit of white out. Going to get clean water along the edge here, just to soften my line. That gets rid of the hard line. Now I'm going to pick up my manganese, a little bit of yellow, and drop the manganese in. You can see how it spreads because it's wet. This is what makes watercolor so beautiful.